Hello and welcome back to the AI with Maribel Lopez podcast. I'm Maribel Lopez and I am joined here today with actually a good friend of mine, Jono Luk. Nice to see you, Jono.
Nice to see you, Maribel. Thanks for having me.
Jono is the Chief Product Officer at Sumer Sports. And, we've been talking a lot about obviously AI on this podcast, but how it impacts different industries. And I thought it would be really nice to have someone like Jono here talking about AI within a specific industry and how that can actually be used to deliver a deeper level of business value because of some of the specialization around it. So, Jono, I thought maybe we could just get started with you sharing what the company does for those that might not be familiar with it. Let's start there.
Yeah, for sure. So Sumer Sports is right now, football data analytics and AI company. I say right now because we're called Sumer Sports, not Sumer Football. Read into that as you will. But the point here is we do see the sports industry transforming faster than ever before. Everyone, right, wants to understand. You understand through data. And so Sumer Sports' unique take on this is we use computer vision and AI to be able to analyze every game, every player, every team in real time. So you're getting a lot more deeper understanding that helps you then to figure out which players are great, which players do I want to keep, which one do I want to trade, who do I want to draft, right? That's kind of where Sumer Sports started. Help the clubs better understand, therefore they can make better decisions. And as we've been going through this, we realize there's a whole bunch of understanding or signal that lays, below the surface. The one that I always use as the example is, everyone cheers when quarterback throws, it's a completion, 7 yards,
Yeah.
first down. That's fantastic. But if you actually took a step back, maybe one of the receivers was open at 14 yards and there was no coverage. So if that had happened, well, you would have actually put another 6 or 7 points on the board, right? And so there's an understanding that you can only get by looking at the whole play, every player, and how we do it, which is 10 or 60 times a second. So that's what we do that's different. We don't just look at the outcome of something. We analyze the probabilities all the way through. That's when you start to understand skill like decision making. Did you pick the best play? Right. And then did you evade a sack? Did you do things that increased the chances of your team scoring? Not just did you get, right? Did you complete? Did you do something else? So that's how we approach this. And to the point of this whole podcast with AI, right? We can do that at a scale and at a lower cost than traditional vendors who might use humans, right? Humans that literally have an Excel sheet that take notes. This play, what happened, what happened, what happened. So it's faster. We can get deeper. And honestly, it's cheaper. Even though all the token conversations that you and I have had and everyone out there, it is still cheaper and faster to do this with computer vision and AI than with humans at that scale.
I love this discussion because, first of all, it's 2026 and we're still talking about Excel spreadsheets, which just therein, the game to beat in town is an Excel spreadsheet. It always seems to be
Hey,
that
they have
case.
Excel championships. You've seen this, right? Where like they're going, we're going to put people on Mars with Excel spreadsheets. I'm sorry, like that's just how it's still going to be.
Yeah, no, it's fascinating, but I love this. So let's talk about this for a minute because um, AI isn't necessarily new to sporting venues. So is it now that it's just faster, it's better? You mentioned that, you've gotten more predictive nature in it. So, if this were 2 years ago, can you walk me through like what's the difference of what people could have
Yeah.
done 2 years ago versus what they can do now?
Yeah. I mean, I'll actually maybe start by saying this. I mean, we've both been around the block for a while now. We've seen these
A few
transformation waves,
blocks.
a couple blocks. Yeah. Maybe a mile or two, right? In the grand scheme of technology. Um, I think the pattern you always see is there's a new technology. Think of mobile phones back in the day, the internet, data, apps, security, and now AI. There's this turning point when it becomes accessible, right? Not
Right.
necessarily accessible to a citizen developer even, but accessible to any organization to build faster because of it. So I think that where consumer sports and the industry in a whole is benefiting from that turning, that turning the corner with this technology where it is just so good, right? It is so good that we can do this at scale, right? Now, the key here is there's a difference between using AI and building AI. And so
Yeah.
Sumer Sports, we actually build AI as well, not just take something off the shelf. But again, you need the parts, the building blocks, right? The brick and the mortar to build the house. And that's where we are as an industry as well. So I feel like the moment is right, for this to really have happened. And now that's what's happening, right? Everyone's experimenting. Everyone is able to get stuff going faster, right? And just test it out. Before it was too expensive, it was too hard, or folks didn't have the skills, the right folks, the right skills in house to try those things. So again, we're a beneficiary of this. And I think the larger industry and the world is more open to the right AI based solutions in the right places. The last thing I think I'll say maybe is you can't, AI isn't the hammer for all nails either, right? It fits as pieces in larger solutions. And I think that's where the industry is going overall with technology industry, with AI, right? Where is it the best tool for the job? How does it fit into the larger solutions, the workflows and everything else?
I think this point about deciding when to use AI is a discussion that we're going to be having a lot moving
Yep.
forward. Because I think the discussion that we had in 2025 was you should use AI. And the answer
Right.
to
Right.
everything was AI. And there was a broad set of AI tooling back then. So, AI wasn't AI. There's like different types of AI. So I think
Yep.
we're starting to get to there's more sophistication around the AI now. There's a place and time to use it that has the right economics around it, which I think is where you were going a minute ago. Uh, so how to figure out like what adds the most value to an organization. So I want
That's
to
right.
step back for a moment because, well, two things as you said. So for maybe a bit of clarity. So when you say you build AI, does that mean that you build more specialized models for the sporting industry? Is that the way to think of that?
Yeah, we do. And I'll maybe kind of describe the two flavors of this, right? So on the one side, as I mentioned, we do something unique where we start with the film of a football game, right? All the 22 players in view, and then we do assessments. There's AI in that pipeline and models in that pipeline to help us generate those probabilities, right? The probability of a tackle, probability of how many yards. And then on the flip side, we have all this data, 300, 400 different data points. AI needs to help in the use of that data as well, right? So there's a generation of the data and the use. In our case, we lovingly called this thing Sumer brain. It's the brain that knows all the facts. But the point is the success, I think, of data isn't that there's bajillions of data points. It's that it actually helps you answer the questions you need to answer. And so in that case, we have specially trained models, right, which speak football and which handle the time series. Because again, we're doing 10 times a second, 60 times a second. There's a different nature to how we do this. LLMs, which was at what right now everyone thinks of generative AI, thinks of LLMs because, ChatGPT in November 22. But math is math. Numbers are different, right? The L in LLM is large language. And so we've built other pieces that work with LLMs to properly serve up the type of answers that coaches, GMs, players need. And again, that goes back to using these pieces in the right way, not just blindly shoving everything into a frontier model and hoping, right, that it actually serves the need.
Yeah. I like this tee up of like there's language and there's math and how do you pull them together so that you can actually get the answer to your problem? Because I, as a end user of that technology, like the language interface, but
Yes,
the models need to be working on the math in the right way. And we've all had that experience where you've used a large language model and somehow the math didn't work and you were like, wait, how did 2 plus 2 not equal 4 that time? You
right,
know? So
right.
there's that kind of the mystery and intrigue of AI that we all laugh about. Let's talk a little bit about the business. So right now, Sumer Sports is football. You talked about how there'd be other potential sports later, but let's talk about football itself and the different ways it can be used, because I think
Yeah.
there's more than one aspect of using AI in football.
Yeah, absolutely. So I often talk about this at, well, everyone does, the front office and the back office, right? So
Right.
every football
We all
is
think about the
about,
front office with football, right?
right, right, exactly. It's what you see. But then there's the other half of this, because guess what? Football franchises are businesses, right? At
Right.
the end of the day, you and I, everyone, we go to watch a game. We go back because we loved watching the game last time. If we can't go to the game, we watch on our phones or on our TVs because it is exciting, it is fun. And so that back office side, we call this fan engagement. Engaging the fan no matter where they are. It could be at home, at the game, or actually in between sports bar, right? Watch parties. I'm having dinner. I'm keeping track, the big TVs everywhere. We also think about this as before, during, and after. The game itself, only 60 minutes. But how do you engage that fan before? Get them hyped on the way into, right, into the stadium or the district. How do you keep them hyped after? This is a whole, I mean, it's a business cycle. We talk about this in every other world, right? Attract, retain, and monetize. And what's unique for Sumer Sports, the reason why we're moving into that, it is all about the game. When you think about a broadcast, it is about the game. I mean, the banter between, right, the broadcasters, they bring their personal flavor, their experience. When Tom Brady talks about this one time, everyone listens because it's Tom Brady, but he is broadcasting the game, right? And so we take that understanding, that depth to help elevate that storytelling or to do outreach. I don't even know what generation we're in now. We're past Gen Z. I think we're into Alpha. Everyone, though, right, has one of these in hand, possibly this, an iPad, maybe no TV anymore. They're not actually following the primary broadcasts. So there's a new way to engage those fans, but it has to be tied into the game, right?
Yeah.
At this moment, this happened. Now it's a question of what's the right thing to do? Do you position an offer, right? Say, hey, did you see that touchdown? First of its kind this season, 25% off jerseys. Or maybe it's a food offer of some form, right? We see this with different franchises. They have partnerships and sponsorships with different vendors, food vendors, discount now. So there's a lot of things you can do, up to and including sweepstakes.
Hmm.
What just happened? Should the QB have fill in the blank? Should the linebacker have? And so it's up to you what you position, but being able to trigger that at the right moment, that's when the magic starts to happen with the fans. So it is still about the game, but it creates a better experience around it. And so that's where we complement our core football operations focus with this fan engagement. And we think we can do it better here because we do know the game better than anybody else, going back to what we're talking about before, right? Probabilities. Now you're talking coulda, shoulda. Oh, that could have happened, but it didn't, right? And so you can create those moments, good or bad or otherwise, right, around those and really hype up that fan and keep them hyped.
I think this whole discussion about the new fan experience, I remember when we had this discussion with Wi-Fi networks and we to give fans access to data on their smartphones in the stadium, but it was fairly basic and rudimentary. And I think what you're
Mhm.
getting to now is the ability to have much more customization, much richer data, the next level of that fan experience. So sometimes what I try to tee out in this podcast is like, hey, in a lot of ways, the things that we're doing aren't new conceptually, but the
Right.
implementation of them is so much better now and so much closer. Like a great example, everybody's been talking about personalization, right?
Yep.
The access to the things that are about you and being able to give you that specialized offer in the moment. That is not a new concept, but I think in this day, with the access to the data, the speed at which we can analyze the data, the ability to make recommendations better based on the models. If you pull all that together, we really do start to get to that level of personalization that we've been talking
Yeah.
about for I don't even know how long we've been like I'm sure there was like some marketer with a stone tablet and a chisel, writing out personalization back in the caveman days. But
Right.
and here we are, still in 2026 trying to make it happen. But I do think we're getting closer, and I think that that's, some of the value that we're looking for to create in these businesses that franchises are looking to create, that they're looking to companies like yours and AI to help them create. So I'm excited to see this happen. I think it's really great. And, the back office, understanding what's happening with the player dynamic. Talk to me a little bit about how you see that rolling out. Is that do they come to you and ask for that? How are they thinking about the new world order of recruitment and even into college, right? I think
Right.
most people probably have assumed that we're just talking about the big sporting franchises right now, but we're also seeing this move down into the college level, correct?
Oh, 100%. Like, I think faster and with more theory than ever, right? With the NIL changes that are continually happening with NCAA. I think there is no one answer to your question. It's more different clubs, even at the colleges that we work with, and we're starting to talk with high schools. It's all a question of how they think about, right? How they think about the game, recruiting, their ability to recruit. You called it out. There's some, programs and colleges and some teams that everyone knows, and other ones not so much. And so they're looking for different ways and different tools to help with that recruitment, that understanding of players, and ultimately the fit. This is something where we're super fortunate at Sumer. I call it Sumer story time. We have our football operations group, 600 plus years experience in the pros, right? And so Coach Wiley, John Idzik, Mike Mayock, all these folks, and you hear them talk about their past lives as GMs, scouts and coaches, and the answer varies. Literally, it's 180 degrees different sometimes, two different teams, yet they're both successful. And that's
Yeah.
been, to be honest, I'm a product guy, right? That's been the most interesting part of this challenge sometimes with AI is I'm not solving one narrow thing. We have to treat this almost as a platform type. We can fully understand the game and then make sure that the coach who thinks this way, who has these preferences and these tendencies, are able to get their answer in their context. So actually going back to personalization, that's actually part of it, right? Their
Yeah.
subjective view and opinion on what is otherwise objective fact is as important as the data itself. And we've been learning and trying to build more of that in. Same thing with the fans. Truly, personalization, right? Is make this matter for me, make it right for me. And so I think I just wanted to go back to something you were talking about earlier with Wi-Fi and all of this, the generational changes we've seen with technology. I think the way that we have to think about this when we talk with franchises, and a partner of ours is Cisco. Actually, you and I met through Cisco events many
Cisco.
years ago. They have so much infrastructure that is so powerful that is also signal, right? So when we talk with some of the franchises about their venues, they're thinking about 300 level versus 100 level, the concourse by the merchandise versus the front doors and gates. You can start to differentiate, and I call it micro target, right? Really, it is
Mm.
personalization, but these are signal sets. It's serving Wi-Fi to that customer because it's cement walls, right? You're way down there, but it can actually help improve the experience for those customers, right? Those fans that are in there. That's also personalization. So on both sides, be it the athletic team, football operations group, the coaches, the scouts, the GMs, the ones who are trying to win, or the fans who are watching. It's true now more than ever, right? And this goes back to the AI being more readily accessible. It's more configurable. You can train. That's, I think, where we are right now. And it's a shame sometimes for me to hear someone say, I just jammed more stuff into this one model. That's not solving the problem. That's making retrieval of info better, right? It is opinions and it is your team's take on things, that personalization at the person or the team level that can make all the difference in how you use that data.
Yeah. And and for the audience's benefit, I love the fact that I just asked Jono a very industry analyst question that had no specific answer to, and he still managed to be able to answer it because that is classic. We ask the unanswerable questions all the time. Uh, okay, so speaking of that, you meet with a lot of different companies. AI is one of those things that sometimes people are very excited about. They usually have a lot of pushback in different areas on it. So rather than talk about any of the pushback that you might have been hearing from different sporting teams, what's something that you wish organizations knew about AI when you go in to speak to them? Any kind of misconceptions or, things you
Yeah.
just would like them to think about differently, before you even have the conversation, just for them to kind of have this piece of baseline.
Um, I might be dating myself now, but please
I
don't
date
think
myself all the
AI.
time.
Right? But um, please don't think AI just means frontier models and LLMs. Again, November 22 changed the world forever. My mother talks to me about AI. But AI in that world is generative AI, and really they mean LLMs, language based, right? In my prior life with Cisco, we talked about generative AI being part of how we can increase network resiliency and packet loss. Like AI is everywhere, applicable everywhere. Our CEO, Larissa Horton, myself, and others back at Microsoft 15 plus years ago, we're working on flavors of AI that, were around the processing and understanding of language. It's not large language models. We were doing things for, remember, NLP, natural language
Yeah.
processing. And so AI isn't just the LLM frontier model, the hype of that we're seeing. It's everywhere in between as well, between those raw signals and that output. The reason why that's the one I drill in on is as end users, everyone listening to your podcast, everyone out there, we are end users and usually something else. You're an analyst, I'm a chief product officer.
Right.
So it's very tempting to think, well, I was searching for something and Gemini gave me. That must be the AI, right? It kind of puts it into a corner almost of what it can do
Right.
for you. And that's when I feel like now we're stuck. We're not ideating about what is the workflow that AI can help with, right? What are the
Yeah.
pieces? So that's my one ask. Not all franchises are thinking that, but it's something that I put out there on a whole businesses as well. That's not just sports, right? Don't think that what you see as the end user, which is usually a frontier model or some model wrapped in a chatbot, is the end all be all of AI.
And you mentioned computer vision earlier. And one of the things I think is so interesting about that is something we used to talk about a lot. And then once larger language models came about, we didn't talk about them at all. But if you think about many organizations have the ability to use some kind of computer vision. It could be computer vision for safety. It could be
Yeah.
computer vision for optimizing the operations within your business. And to your point about AI not just being that type of thing, AI being more than that, I I think that we're starting to talk now about physical AI, which I think gets closer to what you're talking about, like getting people out of this box of just thinking about language and in terms
Yeah.
of thinking about, well, how could it be used in manufacturing and robotics and safety and driving and, whatever. And I think for a while we got all excited about autonomous driving and then it didn't happen at the pace we wanted. So we got disillusioned with that. But if you think about the broad spectrum of it, yes, there's all different flavors of AI. So I think that's a really great call out. Any last pieces of advice for the audience?
Um, I think the big one I always say, it pairs with my prior ask, right? Please don't just think it's also don't be afraid to ask. Right?
Mm.
Don't be afraid to ask, what are the problems we think that AI can help with? I think there was a disservice that happened maybe a year and a half ago when half of white collar, employees are going to lose their job because of AI. And
Right.
before that, remember, we were in some rooms together when with CX, with customer experience in contact centers, AI was going to replace
100%.
all the agents in contact centers, right? And I feel like I say this
Yeah.
jokingly because we now know where we are with all that, but it creates this fear, right? It
Right.
creates a fear to genuinely ask, what are the problems my business needs to solve that I can't solve today, or we collectively can't solve today as this organization or partners to your organization? Ask those questions, right?
Yeah.
Because if you do, then you'll figure out, hey, you know what? These things that are highly repetitive, those are the ones that are going to be naturally a candidate for AI, also because usually the boundaries are better understood. And so you're moving up the value chain and AI is pushing you up that way. That's the picture I draw for folks, right? Think of it as the thing that pushes you into the higher order, higher value activities. That's the thing. Ask those questions. By the way, the answer isn't always yes or AI either, right? But ask, it
Right.
can't hurt to ask. And so
Right.
that's maybe my piece of advice slash ask for folks on the whole thing.
Wonderful. Thank you, Jenna. I'm so excited to see what you and Sumer Sports build next. Please do keep us informed on what's
Will
going
do.
on and look forward to seeing you live at some point.
Absolutely. It's good to see you. Thanks for
All right.
having me.
Cheers.